Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching Cairo Local Time, and in this segment of our program we will talk about New Alamein City, as it is not only a summer retreat overlooking the Mediterranean but also the home to thriving tourism industry and housing compounds all year round. And today we are joined by Dr. Atef, who is going to tell us more about this important new city, New Alamein City, as a tourism destination. Good afternoon, Dr. Amr.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So, sir, as I've just mentioned, that New Alamein City is not only is also home to tourism industry and many housing compounds. So, can you tell us more about New Alamein City as a touristic destination?
New Alamein City is one of the very important new touristic destinations.
Yes.
They started Al Alamein the new Al Alamein around 2018.
Yes.
And it started first with residential areas and then hotels. It has like 16 towers and lots of international hotel chains. But the thing is, it became very trendy now, not only for the Egyptian travelers or the Egyptian tourists, but also for travelers from lots of other countries, and especially from the Gulf countries. In the past, our friends and families from the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates or Bahrain, or they used to come and spend their holidays in Cairo mainly, and that's why we used to eyeball them more in Cairo. Whereas now they would come and spend a night or two in Cairo and then head to Al Alamein, stay in the hotels. There are lots of luxurious hotels in Al Alamein. There are lots of five-star hotels and four-star hotels, and people go there and spend their vacation, and it became a family vacation destination as well. There are lots of restaurants, there are lots of activities to offer, water activities, plus the climate is nice, and people really enjoy Al Alamein. And people go also to the North Coast, of course, and spend their holiday. Al Alamein also has lots of residential areas, so there are lots of schools and apartment buildings and housing. I believe it's kind of another capital or a second capital to Egypt that has been built, and the feedback is always great.
Yes. So, Dr. Amr, also, if we talk about Al Alamein City, and to what extent the city will change the map of the entire North Coast?
Well, Al Alamein is very important. First of all, if we talk from the security point of view, and I'm not a security expert, but
yes,
from the readings, when you have residential areas and you have hotels and have people living and have population, that's good for instead of having just plain desert, in this spot.
Yes.
I do remember in the past, and I'm talking about in the early 2000s, there was not much going on in Al Alamein. There was like a couple of hotels or resorts, and that's about it. There were charter flights. Couple of charter flights that would go and land in Al Alamein in 2004, 2005, I believe. Now, with all the hotels and with all the travelers and with all the residential areas and with all the activities that's going on, so that totally changed the map of the North Coast, not only for travelers and tourists, but also for people to live. It's a city that is designed for the accommodation of the people. So you see schools, you see hospitals, you see industry, you see lush and vegetation, you see farming, and so it's a totally complete, ready for accommodation city, and that will for sure change the map of the North Coast instead of being just desert and just like fig farms that used to be in the past now, and also olive farms now. It became more residential and more, a touristic destination for travelers from different kinds of the world.
Dr. Amr, actually, there is also historical importance to this area. Can you shed more light on it?
If we talk about Al Alamein from the historical point of view, well, Al Alamein goes back all the way to the old days, and there were like lots of wheat fields in the past, and you know that Egypt was the wheat basket for Rome in the past. So there were lots of lush and vegetation, lots of wheat farms in the past, and Egypt used to export. And there were also like a marina or a port there to export the wheat to Rome in the past for almost like 300, 400 years. Al Alamein also is famous worldwide because of the WW2.
Yes.
When the Germans,
World War, yes.
Yeah, the Second World War, or the WW2, and Rommel and Montgomery and all what was going on. It's famous worldwide. They have also the Commonwealth tombs, the Commonwealth Cemetery. They have, the Germans were stopped. In the WW2, Hitler and the WW2 was stopped in Al Alamein. You know, the Germans were not able to continue. At that time, of course, extending their troops to Egypt and to Al Alamein. So they were stopped by Al Alamein. That's what made Al Alamein very famous. And you know what? Even before, there were lots of travelers from all over the world. I'm talking about Australia, talking about England, talking about France, talking about different parts of Europe. They would come to Al Alamein to visit the cemetery of their ancestors, to visit the tombs of their ancestors. And there are huge Commonwealth cemeteries there, and guest books and people. List of names, and people would go by the books and check and find the tombs of their relatives and families and ancestors, and so that made Al Alamein really very special. So travelers had known Al Alamein from the past. There is also the Museum of Al Alamein, which is also famous worldwide, the military museum in Al Alamein. So people know a lot about Al Alamein, and most of the travelers who would go to Alexandria for the last 3-4 decades would always ask to do an extension trip. They go for a day trip to Al Alamein. Now, with all the progress that has been going on in Al Alamein, as I was just mentioning to you, ma'am, that it became the second capital of Egypt. So I think it will be more attractive, especially that also the government has lots of the meetings there, so that would attract the eyes of the travelers to go there. And there was also a summit that took place recently, with all the different leaders from the Arab countries, from the Gulf countries, and from different parts of the world. There was a big summit.
Yes, so this takes us to the point of attracting more Arab investors to this area.
You can say that again. This summit actually, from the readings and from the newspapers that was writing, it already did. There were lots of Arab investors that were doing investments in Al Alamein, but this summit in particular, with all what's going on in the world, and with the map that has been changing, and all this and that, I think it will attract more investments and Arab investors to invest more in Al Alamein, especially that tourism will be booming at this part of the world, with all the bookings, at least for the coming couple of years. So it will be a win-win situation, and there will be lots of Arab investments, which is already there.
Yes. Dr. Amr, also, if we talk about the high-speed electric train, which is expected to connect the 6th of October city with the city of Al Alamein, to what extent this train will facilitate movement of tourists to North Coast?
Well, I mean, this train, this overspeedy train will, of course, facilitate people traveling from the 6th of October city. Imagine that people, I mean, transportation is one of the very important elements in lots of aspects. I mean, if you talk about industry, transportation is one of the very important elements. If you talk about exporting, transportation is one of the very important elements. And don't forget that the British, when they were here, I mean, during the British occupation, well, the Brits built the first train station, I mean, the second oldest train station worldwide. We're talking 1886, and they built this train station, and the central station was in Ramses Square, especially to transport the goods from India all the way to Egypt, and then by train to the Suez, and by the Suez to the Suez Canal, and then to England. What I'm trying to say is transportation has always been important. Now we are building New Egypt. I mean, the government is building New Egypt, and we always say to the travelers, Egypt is now not the same as your mother's Egypt or your grandmother's Egypt. It's New Egypt now. It's a new country, and there will be lots of Instagramic tours. I mean, people would like to go to a new city that nobody has been before. We're going back to the transportation. I think it will facilitate travelers to go back and forth, and it will facilitate tourism. And you measure how successful the site or the touristic place or site is when the travelers can use the transportation that the locals use, you know?
Yes. So, sir, also one final question. What kind of tourists will be interested in Alamein City?
Well, there will be lots of travelers who will be interested in Alamein, of course. First of all, the travelers from the Gulf countries. We're talking about travelers from Saudi Arabia, from United Arab Emirates, from Kuwait, from Bahrain. Especially, there are lots already of investments from the Gulf countries that's going on in Alamein. So, I mean, you watch that on TV all the time, and actually, our friends and families from the Arab countries has been doing great advertisement on social media. You mean, we're talking about, I mean, TikTok or Twitter or Facebook or what have you, and they've been doing lots of advertisement from the hotels, and they just love it there. So I think it will be more attractive to travelers from the Gulf countries, especially that it's not very far. I mean, Egypt is not very far destination. Now they call Al Alamein as the Egyptian Riviera, you know, with all the towers and all this. And I mean, it's a 4G city, and it's amazing. I just want also to shed a light about, I mean, how many job opportunities that this new capital, or I mean, a new capital, or also Al Alamein has offered. I mean, imagine how many people who are working in the construction. I mean, lots of job opportunities. I mean, those were not built by, I mean, Al Alamein was not built by aliens. I mean, there is labor, there were Egyptians who were working, and so it's humongous job opportunities that has been offered by those new communities and the new cities that has been built.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Amr Atef, tourism expert. Thank you for being with us. Dear viewers, short break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.